paramedic sees him and freaks out, like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? I searched the car, there was no gun. You planted that there. And he takes the gun and throws it over the river. And that's, I mean, that right there is like the thesis of the film. You know, to me, that's what the film is about. And it's this inner conflict between the cops and the community and the cop community. And there's so much stuff going on in this movie. This is my favorite type of movie because it jam-packed so much stuff. If you read Roger Ebert's review of it, one of the things that he said that he thought was a kind of a negative on the movie is how much stuff this movie tries to cram in. There's stuff about the cops and the communities. There's maybe a love triangle between Sylvester Stallone and one of the cops' wives. There's all this stuff about infidelity with I believe it's Harvey Keitel's wife who's sleeping with another cop. I believe she's sleeping with Peter Berg's character.
Yeah.
And Sylvester Stallone is in love with Peter Berg's wife, and they're just and then there's all this stuff with Robert De Niro who's trying to bring down the cops in the city, and there's all this stuff going on, and I love films like that. This film feels like a novel. There's all these different characters, and each one of them has their own subplot, and it ties into the main theme of the story. And it's a great piece of filmmaking.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. I'm not really sure why this one seems to have been kind of swept under the rug a lot.
I feel like that's a lot of what stuff with James Mangold. I feel like he's a type of director that I don't think gets his due because he's made so many great films. I mean, this, a 310 to Yuma, you know, so many people were praising Logan for being a Western, but if you look back at his career, that's all James Mangold makes is, you know, neo postmodern Western. This and a 310 to Yuma. There's some other films that he makes have that theme in them too. He's a great storyteller. I don't know why. I guess it was just the idea of Stallone trying to be serious again, and people thought that he had it shot with Rocky, and it didn't happen for him. So he went the action route in the 80s and kind of became a parody of himself, and then he tries to regain, critics with this film, and they kind of blew him off, which is sad because I think this is his best performance outside of maybe Creed. I think this is probably second best.
Yeah. I think we were talking about this when we hung out a couple weeks ago that it would either be this one as Freddy or him as Balboa for Creed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can make a solid case for both. But I think this one is harder because Creed is him sort of dipping back into that well. And if you watch the first Rocky, he's very much trying to be Marlon Brando in that first Rocky. Really, like he wants to be Brando in Streetcar Desire and the Wild Bunch and stuff like that. But here he's so subtle. Stallone being such a macho guy, and here he's so subtle and weak-willed, and he's just a pushover. There's that great scene where his partner, who is a rookie, stops Keitel and Robert Patrick for, I think it's a broken taillight or something, and Keitel is like, you should, show your rookie the ropes, you don't stop cops, you just, and then they drive away, and you see Michael Rappaport poke his head up, and Stallone knows, that's him, but he that doesn't say anything. And there's this, and this film gets at this deep-seated belief within the cop community that you take care of your own. Like, even if they mess up or if they fuck up, you protect their own, and that's been the cause of a lot of stir and controversy. Like, and I think that's a great theme that this film touches upon. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here, and I do agree with you. Circling back to the murder that takes place on the bridge, which pretty much is the catalyst for the rest of the film.
Right.
It's very interesting, but at the same time pretty sad, as it's, obvious relevance, and of course this kind of thing has been going on way before Copland was produced, you know what I mean? But that's the thing, is it's kind of like using an art form to shed light on something that's a real problem, in not even just here in the US, but in the world, but yeah, I think I thought everybody does a wonderful job. I think, but outside of the obvious Stallone, I really loved Ray Liotta, because he does that kind of wrong side of the tracks, like, got the character so well, as we saw already in Goodfellas, as we see his transition into heavy drug use and not really thinking clearly, and he's just a great character actor and explosive,
Yeah, he's known for his being super explosive, and there's a great scene in the bar. I believe it's before the murder takes place, where he is talking to Keitel, and there's beef there, and he's like, "Don't shut me out, right? Like, don't toss me to the side, as if I'm some Joe Schmo. Like, we have history." And and there's a subplot with him too, and him being with this, I think she's a stripper, I think, and they're kind of mocking him for it, and he wants to get out of town, and he tries to commit insurance fraud, and there's all this, there's so much going on with that character that's so great. This is probably like my third favorite performance by him. It's obviously Goodfellas, and then he's great in Something Wild, which is a Jonathan Demme movie from the 80s that's really good. And this, his best. He's so good here.
Have you ever seen a little film called Phoenix, by chance?
No.
I think Phoenix is on Stars right now. If you have Stars, you should check that out. It's with Angelica Houston. What's his name? Ari from Entourage is in it. It's got one of the Baldwins is in it. It's got a stacked cast, but that's another one that really didn't ever get a lot of attention, and it's pretty decent. Ray Liotta is great in it. But anyway, going back to Copland, and you were talking about the scene and where he tells Ray, "Don't shut me out," but he also has a kind of tussle with Robert Patrick's character in the film, where he mocks him straight up for who he's seeing or helping out, like supposedly maybe like a meth addict or something like that, and Ray Liotta just punches him in the face, and then takes him, grabs him, and throws him up against the wall, and shoves a dart up his nose. It's
classic explosive Ray.
Yeah, and just a great bar fight scene as well. Yeah.
And while that scene is happening, Stallone is just sitting there.
Yeah.
He's just like standing there, not really trying not to engage, and he's the sheriff, I think, right? Like, he's the sheriff of the town.
He is the main dude.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the main cop of the town, and you just see how he has little to no control over these people.
And that's that's kind of the point, right? Is because so it's like Ray has set up like all these cops to come out of the city and have this kind of haven where they can do and say whatever they want, because they know that essentially they can bully Freddy because he's kind of he lost his hearing in one ear from saving a young girl as when he was a teenager, and so he could never fully become law enforcement. So he's just stuck being a sheriff, but he's very passive, very whatever. And I feel like all of these guys can sense that. So nobody, and you can see it through the course of the entire film, nobody really takes him seriously. And that's the whole point, is that's why these people are able to run. These cops are able to run rampant once they kind of clock off and they leave the city. And you know what I mean? They can run drug money. They can do whatever they want because they know that Freddy is scared essentially, or just wanting to fit in with them. Because he kind of idolizes them, because that's what he's always wanted to do with his life. And then this film kind of turns into a transitioning point where he realizes, like, yo, these people are taking advantage of me, they don't give a shit about me, and this is wrong, and I need to do something about it.
Right. And then he goes, I think, so after that scene, I believe he goes to Peter Berg's house and talks to the wife. And you see that there's clearly a connection there, and it's hinted at that she has called him specifically when Peter Berg and her get into arguments. It's said that Peter Berg abuses her, and that Freddy has been called there multiple times to try to calm him down. And it's another great scene because it showcases how forgotten loves and chances that he wished that he had taken, and
Yeah, there's a lot of reminiscing on What If, and I think when we introduce Moe's character, who is De Niro, who is Eternal Affairs, I believe, he's trying to take down all these corrupt cops that he knows are corrupt, and he's known it for years, but the mayor and the city are all kind of blocking him. So he's, trying to do whatever he can to build a case. And so he comes to Stallone or Freddy's character and tells him, like, I take this really personally when cops like lose their way, and we need to stop it. And I think you're the man for the job. And at that time, Freddy's like, he's not willing to, he's uncomfortable, he doesn't want to turn against his friends, so he's kind of like, yo, this is a nice place to kind of raise your family, it's quiet, nothing's happening here, he blows off Moe, and then later on down the line realizes what he's done, and he wants to fix it,
and that he has to stand up, he has to take back his city, he has to stop all the corruption stuff, because tensions are rising. I mean, it's gotten so bad that Ray Liotta wants out. He just wants to, get his get the money that he has on his house and leave, because he can't take it there no more. And it's a tipping point for Freddy to want to take action. And when he does want to take action, the cops who work for him don't. Like, there's this great scene where I think it's him and I think it's Noah. I forget his last name, but
Emmerich, right?
Show. Yeah, and they're talking, and he's like, I can't get involved because I have a wife and